get sidetracked. Welcome to Get Sidetracked. Today we're going to be talking about Delhi, India. So I'm going to be talking about two different parts. I'm going to talk about an area called Hauz Krauz and also New Delhi. So I was actually in both places, and Haus Krauz is where all the new stuff is at. So this is where more of the upscale stuff is at. I'm going to show you pictures. There's actually a lot of people say that India doesn't really have bars, but actually some of the places do have bars. Haus Krauz is where it is for New Delhi. There are other bars around too, but this is more upscale, so you can see more art galleries, you can see bars, clubs, a lot of, there's even internet shops. So I'm just gonna go through my pictures today, and I'll just kind of go off on different topics, and I'll just fill in the gaps with these, but the first half is gonna be Haus Krauz. I walked by this little internet cafe. I saw lots of Western, it's not an internet cafe like the traditional sense, it's actually an internet startup company. But they're down there and they're just doing internet content stuff. I don't know exactly what it was, but I saw a lot of, I think just basically a lot of startup businesses, a lot of people are trying to do things. And right next to the Haus Krauz, it's really famous. It's actually more of a suburb. It was another town outside of Delhi altogether, but New Delhi is so huge that it just kept expanding until I got out to this spot, which is Haus Krauz. And I'm gonna go through a lot of pictures from this temple area. So this area is, you can look up the history yourself, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And one of the things that I noticed about this particular area, particularly when I compare it later to Old Delhi, was that there's a lot of young people here, and a lot of males and females. As soon as I got into Old Delhi, it's like an absence of females. They just didn't really seem to feel very comfortable. And actually, to be honest, I wear shorts quite a bit, and I wore them in Old Delhi too, and I didn't feel comfortable with shorts. People kept looking at my legs and making comments. The Indian men did. So you can feel how conservative it is on one side, but then in the Haus Krauz I didn't have that at all. Or when I went to, I mean, not that I would have it generally, but I think for women, they would feel very uncomfortable just walking around in Old Delhi. I also went to some malls. Probably throughout this time right now, I've just been showing you pictures of Haus Krauz and kind of the people that were there, and also the what you would see at that site. And actually there's a lot of hotels and hostels right there too. So if you were going to go to New Delhi and you wanted to experience that side of the city, I would recommend that area. Old Delhi is completely different. Old Delhi, you see a lot more, like this is where you see all the traditional conservative stuff. You'll see more Islamic culture mixed in with Hindu culture. All the old ancient cultures are there. There's a boy climbing over. And basically in that area there's this is where there's the Red Fort was there, so I'm going to show quite a few pictures from the Red Fort. I think I'll do that first. So the Red Fort is kind of the biggest tourist attraction when you're walking around Old Delhi. It'll bring in almost everybody, so that's where you get all the cameras. So when I was walking around there, everybody has a camera, everybody's taking pictures of everybody else and everything in there. And I was in everybody's camera shots quite a bit. If I was walking around, people would grab me, want to pretend like they knew me forever, if I was a Western friend, and include me in the shot as well. So that's kind of the city that you're dealing with, is in that Old Delhi, like that kind of thing, where the Haus Krauz, you wouldn't really have that. But you did have some elements of it, of course, because it's a pretty cool area. So of course it's going to attract, people who are going to hustle a little bit. But most of the hustling is in the Old Delhi. So I'm going to mix up my photos in the Old Delhi, so I'll show some of the Red Fort, but also some of the old city streets. And I'll go into the dark alleys, and these alleys, actually right now I'm going to show you right now, there's tons of electrical wires. Everything is just hooked up with electrical wires everywhere, so it's this kind of, I don't know, like you can feel like a lot of stuff that could happen here. As far as electrocutions could happen. For example, this guy who throws a ladder up there and just kind of starts climbing over it. Anyway, this whole area is kind of interesting because you'll see Hindu stuff in different places just around the corners, or you might see elements of a mosque. You just never really know. And the people, they dress like, you'll never see anybody with shorts here, unless somebody like me, or maybe somebody's a tourist who's kind of like me. But one thing you probably noticed from the photos is Old Delhi has a very medieval feel. So I kind of felt like it's a crossroads of a lot of different cultures from the Muslim-speaking world, the Hindu world, everything is, kind of converges right there, definitely for India. And so basically you can feel like this old feel of just, like centuries of people who've gone through, and Old Delhi is one of the oldest cities in the world. So so it definitely would have that element to it, and you can feel it in the old city for sure. It just feels like that kind of transient place with just all kinds of people that who haven't really spent much time in big cities or didn't grow up in them, but now they're in them. So you can feel that quite strongly in New Delhi, in the Old Delhi, sorry. As soon as I got there, I walked around a famous area. It's I'll put the name up on the screen right now. But as soon as I got there, I started getting people coming up, trying to hustle me. So for example, one of the hustles was this guy kind of obviously came in front of me, dropped his pencil, was like looking to see if I would pick it up, and I didn't. I kind of felt like a lot of hustlers were around. So he's like, "Oh, did you drop your pen? Oh, silly me, I dropped my pen. Oh, I'm just waiting for my family. They're in the movies for 2 hours, and I just have a lot of time to kill. Oh, silly me, I can't believe I dropped my pen." So this kind of craziness like that. Then of course he wanted to bring me to those are the race cars. This is actually a Grand Prix weekend in Macau, so I stopped the film because I was being interrupted by the Grand Prix, which I was trying to catch footage of anyways, and finally the race started back up again. So. Okay, so actually I just stopped because of the Grand Prix. So that sign right there is the Grand Prix. Okay, so I think I was talking about Old Delhi right before the Grand Prix interrupted, which was fantastic. I went over there and got some footage. Okay, so I think I was telling you a story, but I was getting interrupted by the Grand Prix. I got a bunch of footage, and I can't remember exactly what story it is. So if you're actually a viewer and you're actually listening and you want to hear that story, let me know. These cars are going by fast. It's pretty cool. Okay, so back to Delhi. So some wonderful distractions here with the Grand Prix. Basically, I have to talk about the pollution. So the pollution in Delhi was actually quite severe, quite strong. I'm not a person affected by pollution, but the pollution in Delhi really got to me because it actually made me sick. And then when I went into the airport after 4 or 5 days there, it took me a while just to cough out all the phlegm. So at nighttime I had a severe shortness of breath. I could barely breathe. Never experienced pollution to that level, and I've spent 25 years, almost 25 years in Asia since 1996, and I always thought that China was the worst at pollution, but actually the India levels were actually higher. So I don't know when they surpassed it, but it was pretty horrific. So I can't remember the numbers. I'll look back on my Facebook feed because I posted it. I was in such shock, so I'll repost that same thing again for you guys. Another thing I went to was the university, and I'll flash the name of the university up here, but it was kind of near Haus Krauz. So basically, actually it was amazing. I thought it was near Haus Krauz, and I took a Grab taxi. If you're in India, take Grab taxis. I took another one, but I'll put that name up there too. But they can get you anywhere really cheaply, so I didn't have to deal with all the stress of taxis, because there's a lot of predator types all over the place in Old Delhi that are really want to overcharge you. So you take these apps, and you can get anywhere really quickly without any hassle at all and very cheaply. So use one of these. I'll put it on screen. So I went to this university, and I just wanted to, I always like going to the universities, and I like to see what they look like, see what the college scene and students are doing and things like that. So anyways, I found all these murals, so I took some pictures of the murals. There's a lot of politics. It's very interesting. This one particular politics, I'll try not to get any politics at all because I know it's a sensitive issue, but I'll just let these speak for themselves. And I'll just kind of show some of them. So actually, I guess that's about all I want to say about New Delhi. I will say that northern India and southern India are very, very different places. I've been to both now, so I've been to a few cities in the south and a few in the north, and then I guess Mumbai is in the middle, sort of, but I think that's considered south. They have different feels. So I guess like when I'm in New Delhi in particular, I kind of felt like a little bit more connected to the the Islamic world. You know, like maybe it's not that there's a lot of Islamic feel there. There is, of course, somewhat, but it just feels more like you're at a trade route of like the Silk Road, and maybe you know, Pakistan and the stands, and going into the Arabic to the China to, you know, all the way across to Myanmar or whatever. It just kind of feels more like something that things transition through quite a bit. And I guess they must have for Calcutta to, or for Bangladesh to be Islamic. And anyways, in the South India, it's like much more stronger. Like it's a different culture, so it has India is filled with different cultures. Still Indian culture, but it's just a very different feel. It just feels more like really laid back and relaxed, and just more like, I don't know, it has a different feel. Anyways, I'll talk more about that in some other video. So tune in and get sidetracked. I'll show more stuff about India in the future. I'm gonna go watch the Grand Prix. All right, so this is Get Sidetracked. If you like this channel, please subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel.